I rejected a rich Korean man twice. And apparently, that offended everyone except him. The first time happened at a charity gala in Seoul. I wasn't supposed to be there. My company had won an award, and somehow my boss decided I should attend instead of him. I spent the entire evening trying not to embarrass myself around people whose watches cost more than my yearly salary. Then I met him, Kang Min-Jae, the kind of man people notice before he even speaks. Tall, composed, dangerously handsome. The heir to one of Korea's largest business empires. At least, that's what everyone whispered when he entered the room. I was standing near the dessert table when he walked over. Not to the investors. Not to the politicians. To me. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else. That was the first thing he ever said to me. I laughed. Is it that obvious? Only to me. That should have felt charming. Instead, it felt practiced. Like he had said similar things to dozens of women before. We talked for 10 minutes. Nothing serious. Then he asked for my number. I said no. Not politely. Not rudely. Just honestly. His eyebrows lifted slightly. Almost surprised. You don't seem shocked, I said. I'm not. Most men like you expect women to say yes. A faint smile appeared. Most women do. That's exactly why I'm saying no. For a second, I thought he might get offended. Instead, he laughed. Actually laughed. Then he nodded once. Fair enough. And just like that, he walked away. No pressure. No arrogance. No second attempt. Which should have been the end of the story. It wasn't. Because 3 days later, I discovered my company had landed a massive contract. A contract worth millions. A contract that literally saved several departments from layoffs. And guess who owned the company we signed it with? Kang Min-Jae. My stomach dropped the second I saw his name on the documents. Not because I thought he arranged it. Because I thought he might think I rejected him, and then benefited from it anyway. For 2 weeks, I avoided every meeting connected to that project. Then my boss ruined everything. One Friday afternoon, he walked into my office smiling. Good news. Those words are usually dangerous. What happened? The client requested you. I stared at him. What? He specifically asked for you to lead the project. Cold spread through my chest. Out of hundreds of employees. He requested me. Suddenly this wasn't a coincidence anymore. My boss looked confused. Do you know him? No. That was technically true. I knew exactly one conversation's worth of him. 3 hours later, I walked into the executive conference room. And there he was. Calm. Perfectly dressed. Looking entirely too pleased with himself. We stared at each other for a second. Then he stood. Extended his hand. And said something that immediately made me regret accepting the meeting. You still haven't given me your number. The room went completely silent. Every executive around the table turned toward me. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't going to be a simple business project. Not even close. The room stayed silent for exactly 3 seconds. Which was long enough to become embarrassing. My boss looked at me. Then at him. Then back at me. What number? He asked carefully. I wanted the floor to open and swallow me. Min-Jae didn't look remotely concerned. In fact, he looked entertained. Which somehow made it worse. We met recently, he explained calmly. She rejected me. The silence got louder. I closed my eyes briefly. Wonderful. Now an entire executive board thought I was involved in some billionaire romance drama. I'm leading the project because I'm qualified, I said. Of course you are. The faint smile on his face said he was enjoying this far too much. The meeting finally started. And somehow it got worse. Because Min-Jae wasn't flirting. He wasn't distracting me. He wasn't even paying special attention to me. He was simply brilliant. Every question. Every decision, every negotiation, precise, effortless. By the end of the meeting, I understood why people followed him. And honestly, that irritated me. It would have been easier if he were arrogant, or spoiled, or stupid. Instead, he was competent, dangerously competent. When the meeting ended, everyone began filing out. I grabbed my laptop and headed straight for the door. 1 minute. I froze. Of course. The voice belonged to him. The room emptied until we were alone. Then he leaned back against the conference table. You've been avoiding the project. No, I haven't. You declined 4 meetings. I frowned. You counted. Yes. That answer came far too quickly. We were both silent for a bit. Then I sighed. What exactly do you want from me? His expression changed slightly. Less amused now. More serious. A chance. I blinked. A chance for what? To prove you're wrong about me. That caught me off guard. Because honestly, I wasn't expecting sincerity. I was expecting charm. Maybe persistence. Not sincerity. You don't even know me. No. Then why do you care what I think? Then he said something that immediately made me uncomfortable. Because you didn't look at my money first. We were both silent for a bit. And suddenly I understood. For the first time. This wasn't about rejection. Not really. It was about certainty. His entire life people approached him already knowing who he was. Already knowing what he owned. Already knowing what they wanted from him. I was probably the first person in years who treated him like a regular man. Which explained his curiosity. But curiosity isn't love. And I wasn't interested in becoming someone's fascination. You'll get over it. His eyes held mine. No. That answer came so confidently that my stomach tightened. Not because it was romantic. Because he believed it. A knock interrupted us. An assistant entered quickly. Sir, your brother is here. Something shifted instantly. The change was subtle. But I saw it. The warmth disappeared. The ease disappeared. Even his posture changed. Like someone had flipped a switch. A second later another man entered the room. And for the first time since meeting Min-Jae, I saw someone who looked almost exactly like him. Same height. Same sharp features. Same dark eyes. But colder. The room suddenly felt 10 degrees cooler. The newcomer looked at me briefly. Then at Min-Jae. Then smiled. Except it wasn't really a smile. Am I interrupting something? No. The answer came immediately. Too immediately. The brother's eyes moved between us again. Calculating. Observing. Then he extended his hand toward me. Lee Hyun-woo. I shook it. His grip was firm. His smile wasn't. And for reasons I couldn't explain, every instinct in my body suddenly told me to be careful. Very careful. Because whatever existed between these two brothers. And somehow, I had just walked directly into the middle of it. I should have walked away then. Honestly, that would have been the smart decision. Finish the project. Collect my paycheck. Stay as far away from the Kang family as possible. Instead, 2 weeks later, I found myself sitting across from both brothers during a private strategy meeting. And the tension between them had somehow gotten worse. Min-Jae presented the company's expansion plans. Hyun-woo spent the entire meeting questioning them. Not aggressively. Strategically. Like he wasn't trying to defeat his brother. Just slowly undermine him. The disturbing part? Nobody else seemed surprised. The executives barely reacted. Which meant this happened often. Very often. By the end of the meeting, even I was exhausted. Min-Jae wasn't. He looked completely unaffected. Until everyone left. Then I saw it. The second the room emptied, he loosened his tie and closed his eyes briefly. 1 second. Maybe 2. But it was enough. Enough to realize he was tired. Very tired. You should have pushed back harder, I said before thinking. His eyes opened immediately. What? Your brother. A faint smile appeared. Most people pretend not to notice. Most people aren't sitting 5 feet away. That actually made him laugh. Then the smile disappeared. He wasn't always like this. There was something in his voice. Not anger. Disappointment. Which somehow felt worse. Before I could ask anything else, his phone rang. The second he looked at the screen, his expression changed. Again. That same shift. The one I'd started recognizing. Pressure. He answered immediately. Yes. Silence. Then. What? His jaw tightened. Hard. Very hard. A second later he stood. No. Don't approve anything until I get there. The call ended. Fast. Sharp. Dangerous. What happened? I asked. A pause. Then. My brother just tried to remove me from a company vote. I blinked. What? He doesn't have enough authority to do it. The way he said it worried me. Because it sounded like he wasn't surprised. Only annoyed. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked the obvious question. Why would he do that? Min-Jae looked directly at me. And for the first time since meeting him, I saw genuine frustration. Because he thinks the company should have been his. That stopped me. What do you mean? A long silence followed. Then he said something that changed everything. My father never wanted me to run the company. The room seemed to shrink. What? My brother was supposed to inherit everything. I stared at him. Nothing about that made sense. You said supposed to. Because 3 years ago my father changed his mind. That explained absolutely nothing. And somehow explained everything. The tension. The resentment. The hostility. The constant power struggle. Suddenly it all fit together. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Min-Jae looked away briefly. Toward the city beyond the windows. Then back at me. Because my brother made a mistake. What kind of mistake? His expression hardened instantly. The kind that destroys families. That answer was terrifying. Not because of what it revealed. Because of what it didn't. Whatever happened, it was bad enough that even now nobody talked about it. And judging by his face, nobody ever would. I left the office that night with more questions than answers. Unfortunately, I wasn't going home. Because someone was waiting for me. I noticed the black car parked across the street the moment I exited the building. At first I ignored it. Seoul is full of expensive cars. Then the driver stepped out. A woman. Elegant. Perfect posture. Designer coat. Diamond earrings. The kind of woman who looked expensive before she even spoke. And the second our eyes met, I knew exactly who she was. Not because we'd met. Because she had Min-Jae's eyes. His mother. She walked toward me calmly. Completely unhurried. Like she already knew how this conversation would end. You're the girl. No greeting. No introduction. Just that. I swallowed. Excuse me? The girl my son won't stop talking about. Every alarm bell in my body started ringing. Loudly. Because something told me this woman wasn't here to welcome me. She stopped directly in front of me. Looked me over once. Slowly. Carefully. Like she was evaluating an investment. Then she smiled. And somehow, that smile felt more dangerous than anything I'd seen from either brother. I think we should talk. And for the first time since meeting Kang Min-Jae, I was genuinely afraid. Every instinct told me to leave. Instead, I got into the car. Which, in hindsight, explains a lot about the decisions I made that year. The ride lasted 15 minutes. Nobody spoke. Not her. Not me. The silence wasn't awkward. It was intentional. Like she wanted me thinking. And unfortunately, it worked. By the time we arrived at a private restaurant overlooking the Han River, my nerves were already stretched thin. She led me to a table in a secluded room. Tea was waiting. Of course it was. Everything about this woman felt planned 3 steps ahead. She sat first. I followed. Then she looked at me calmly. How much do you know about my family? Straight to the point. Not much. Good. That answer surprised me. We were both silent for a bit. Then she folded her hands neatly together. My sons are making your life more complicated than it needs to be. My sons. Not Min-Jae. Not Hyunwoo. My sons. As if they were both equally responsible. Something about that felt dishonest. I'm not sure that's fair. A faint smile appeared. You like him? Not a question. A statement. I immediately regretted coming. Respectfully, that's none of your business. Her smile widened slightly, which somehow felt worse. You really are different. That wasn't a compliment. I could tell. Then she said something that completely caught me off guard. You should stay away from Min-Jae. There it was. Finally. The real reason. I leaned back slightly. And if I don't? Her eyes never left mine. Then you'll get hurt. Not threatened. Not dramatic. Certain. And certainty is always unsettling. We were both silent for a bit. Then I asked the obvious question. By who? For the first time, something shifted in her expression. Tiny. Almost invisible. But there. That's exactly the wrong question. Cold moved through my chest. Because suddenly, I wasn't sure she meant herself. Or Hyunwoo. Or Min-Jae. Maybe all 3. The meeting ended shortly afterward. No threats. No offers. No bribes. Which somehow made it worse. Because if she'd offered money, I could have dismissed her. Instead she left me with fear. And questions. The next morning, things got even stranger. I arrived at work and immediately noticed people staring. Not casually. Directly. Whispering. Looking away when I looked back. My stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Then my best friend rushed toward my desk holding her phone. Tell me this isn't you. My chest dropped. The article was already open. And my face was on it. A photo. Taken outside the restaurant. Me entering the car with Min-Jae's mother. The headline underneath made my blood run cold. Mystery woman linked to Kang family power struggle. I stared at it. Then read it again. And again. because none of it made sense. The article claimed I was secretly influencing corporate decisions, that I had connections to both brothers, that I was involved in an internal succession dispute. Me, a project manager who couldn't even influence her own vacation requests. What is this? I whispered. My friend looked terrified. It gets worse. She scrolled down. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. There were photos of me and Min-Jae, outside meetings, walking together, talking, standing too close. Photos I didn't even know existed. Someone had been watching us. For weeks. Maybe months. And then I saw the final image. The one that made my stomach drop completely. Because it wasn't me and Min-Jae. It was me and Hyunwoo. From the day we met. Standing in the conference room. Shaking hands. The article described it as a secret meeting. A hidden alliance. A conspiracy. None of it was true. But the truth didn't matter anymore. Because the story was already spreading. Fast. Very fast. My phone started vibrating. Then vibrating again. Then again. Unknown numbers. Messages. Emails. The article was everywhere. And right at that moment, my office doors opened. Everyone looked up. The room went silent. And Kang Min-Jae walked in. Not calmly. Not composed. Angry. For the first time since meeting him. Truly angry. His eyes found me immediately. Then the article in my hand. And somehow his expression got even darker. What happened? I asked. Then he said 5 words that changed everything. My brother has disappeared. Silence filled the air. Then he added. And everyone thinks I did something to him. And just like that, the scandal became a criminal investigation. For 3 seconds, I genuinely thought I misheard him. What? Min-Jae's jaw tightened. My brother is missing. The office remained completely silent. Everyone listening. Everyone pretending not to. I stood slowly. When did this happen? He never came home last night. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. Because this wasn't family drama anymore. This was something else. Something bigger. Min-Jae looked around the office once. Then back at me. We need to leave. I didn't argue. 5 minutes later we were in his car speeding across Seoul. The article. The scandal. The photos. All of it suddenly felt secondary. Why would people think you had something to do with it? His grip tightened on the steering wheel. Because I'm the last person who saw him. That wasn't good. Not good at all. When? Yesterday. My chest tightened. The day he disappeared? Yes. Silence. Then, what happened? For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he did. We fought. Of course they did. Everything between those brothers seemed to end that way. How bad? He accused me of stealing his life. The words hung heavily in the air. Because somehow, I knew that wasn't really about the company. Not entirely. This felt older. Deeper. More personal. We were both silent for a bit. Then his phone rang. He answered immediately. Yes. A pause. Then his entire expression changed. What do you mean they found blood? My heart stopped. Blood. The call continued for another minute. When it ended, the car felt 10 degrees colder. I swallowed. Min-Jae. A long pause. Then, they found Hyunwoo's car. My stomach dropped. And, another pause. Then, there was blood inside. Everything went quiet. The city. The traffic. My thoughts. Because suddenly, this wasn't a disappearance. It was potentially something much worse. By the time we arrived at the family estate, reporters were everywhere. Police too. Cameras. Questions. Chaos. The second Min-Jae stepped out of the car, microphones appeared from nowhere. Did you threaten your brother? Are you responsible for his disappearance? Did the succession conflict turn violent? The questions came nonstop. Merciless. And for the first time since meeting him, I watched Min-Jae get cornered. Not by competitors. Not by executives. By suspicion. We barely made it inside. The mansion was worse. Executives filled the living room. Lawyers. Security personnel. Family advisors. Everyone looked terrified. And standing in the center of it all was his mother. Perfectly composed. Perfectly calm. Almost too calm. Her eyes moved directly to me. Then to Min-Jae. Which immediately felt wrong. A missing son. A possible crime scene. And yet she looked completely in control. We need to talk, Min-Jae said. Later. No. Now. For the first time, Tension cracked through the room. His mother stood slowly. Every eye followed her. Then she said something that made the entire room freeze. Your brother left because he finally learned the truth. Silence. What truth? Min-Jae asked. She looked directly at him. And for the first time, I saw emotion in her eyes. Not grief. Not fear. Something darker. Regret. You were never supposed to inherit the company. Min-Jae didn't react, which meant he already knew. Then she continued. And neither was Hyunwoo. That got everyone's attention, including mine. The room became completely silent. What are you talking about? Min-Jae asked. His mother's expression hardened. Then she dropped a bomb that changed everything. Neither of you are my husband's biological sons. The room exploded. Voices, gasps. But I couldn't hear any of it, because all I could see was Min-Jae standing perfectly still, like his entire world had just been ripped out from underneath him. And somehow, I knew the missing brother wasn't the biggest secret anymore. Not even close. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Not because they didn't want to, because nobody knew how. Min-Jae's entire life had just been rewritten in one sentence. And somehow, his mother wasn't finished. You lied to us? He asked quietly. That was the terrifying part. His voice wasn't angry. It was calm. The kind of calm that comes right before something breaks. His mother held his gaze. For 30 years, the room felt suffocating. Executives were staring. Lawyers looked horrified. One of the board members actually sat down like his legs stopped working. And still, she continued. Your father knew. Min-Jae blinked once. Only once. Then, he knew. From the beginning. The silence that followed felt violent, because suddenly everything made sense. The inheritance battles, the resentment, the secrecy, the pressure. The company wasn't being passed down through blood. It was being passed down through choice. And somebody clearly hated that. What about Hyunwoo? Min-Jae asked. His mother's expression shifted slightly. The first crack I'd ever seen. He found out yesterday. Everything stopped. Yesterday. The same day he disappeared. My stomach tightened, because suddenly the timeline became very dangerous. Very quickly. He found out, Min-Jae repeated. Yes. And then he vanished. Nobody said it. Nobody needed to. The implication was already hanging over the room. His mother looked away first. For the first time. Not Min-Jae. Her. And that alone felt important. Then another voice cut through the silence. A detective. When exactly did he learn this information? Sharp eyes. Patient expression. The kind of man who already suspected everyone. His mother answered immediately. Yesterday afternoon. The detective nodded slowly, then turned toward Min-Jae. And when was your argument? Yesterday evening. Not good. Not good at all. The detective wrote something down, then asked the question everyone was thinking. What exactly did your brother say before leaving? A pause. Then Min-Jae answered. He said our entire lives were built on a lie. He said someone was going to pay for it. The detective's pen stopped moving. I felt it immediately. That sentence mattered. A lot. Because suddenly Hyunwoo didn't sound like a victim. He sounded like someone on a mission. The detective apparently reached the same conclusion. Did he mention who? No. Did he threaten anyone? Another pause. Then, yes. Every eye in the room turned toward him. He threatened our mother. The room exploded again. His mother's face went completely still. Too still. Like she had expected that answer. The detective closed his notebook. Interesting. Nobody liked the way he said that. Not even me. Then another officer rushed into the room. Fast. Breathing hard. Holding a phone. Sir. The detective turned. The officer handed him the device. We found him. Everything froze. Every single person. The detective looked down at the screen. Then his expression changed. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Concern. Real concern. What is it? Min-Jae asked. The detective looked up slowly, then said 7 words that sent chills down my spine. Your brother wasn't running away. Silence. Then, he was looking for someone. My stomach dropped. Because somehow, that sounded much worse. Who? Min-Jae asked. The detective turned the phone around, showing everyone the image. A photograph, old, grainy, at least 30 years old. A man, a woman, and between them, a little boy. The room went completely silent, because that little boy looked exactly like Min-Jae. And suddenly, for the first time, the possibility became real. Maybe his brother wasn't searching for answers. Maybe he was searching for their real father. And if that was true, then somebody else had been hiding in this story the entire time. The photograph changed everything. Because for the first time, this wasn't about inheritance, or power, or corporate politics. It was about identity. The detective placed the phone on the table. Everyone crowded around it. Min-Jae didn't move. He just stared. The little boy in the photo looked so much like him it was unsettling. Same eyes, same face, even the same expression. As if someone had taken a childhood photo of him and aged it 30 years. "Where did you find this?" he asked quietly. The detective glanced at the officer. "It was in your brother's hotel room." That made my head snap up. Hotel room? He checked into a hotel yesterday under his own name. So he wasn't kidnapped. At least not initially. He planned something. That changed the entire investigation. The detective nodded. He left willingly. "Then where is he now?" Min-Jae asked. "We don't know." Not a reassuring answer. The detective picked up the photograph again. He spent 6 hours researching the people in this image. 6 hours. My stomach tightened. Because people don't spend 6 hours researching strangers. Not unless they believe those strangers matter. "What did he find?" I asked. The detective looked at me. Then at Min-Jae. Then back at the photo. Not much. A pause. Then, because both people in the image officially died 28 years ago. Silence. Complete silence. Min-Jae frowned. "What?" The detective slid another document across the table. Death certificates. 2 of them. A man. A woman. Both deceased. Both buried. Case closed. Except apparently not. Because Hyun-woo hadn't stopped searching. Which meant he found something. Or someone. Then the front door opened. Hard. Every person in the room turned. A young woman rushed inside. Late 20s. Breathing heavily. Terrified. Security immediately moved toward her. "Wait," she shouted. The detective stepped forward. "Who are you?" The woman looked directly at Min-Jae. Not the detective. Not the lawyers. Min-Jae. And suddenly I knew. Whatever she was about to say was important. "My name is Han Soo-min." Nobody reacted. Then she added, "I know where your brother is." The room exploded. Questions. Voices. Chaos. The detective raised a hand immediately. "How?" The woman swallowed hard. Then pulled something from her bag. A notebook. Old. Worn. Damaged. She handed it directly to Min-Jae. The second he opened it, the color drained from his face. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just kept staring. Page after page. Like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Then Han Soo-min said something that sent a chill through the entire room. "There's one journal missing." The detective frowned. "What do you mean?" She pointed toward the stack. There were 12. Min-Jae quickly counted. 11. Only 11. One missing. One deliberately removed. The detective's expression darkened immediately. "Which one?" The woman looked directly at him. Then, "The one written the week before your father died." Because suddenly the most important piece of evidence in the entire story was missing. And somebody already had it. Nobody left the estate that night. Nobody could. The missing journal changed everything. Because now there was a possibility nobody had considered before. What if Min-Jae's father didn't die naturally? The thought sat heavily in the room. Unspoken. Dangerous. The detective eventually took possession of the journals. Every page would be reviewed. Every name checked. Every date verified. But one question remained. Who had the final journal? And why? By midnight, the estate had become a war room. Lawyers. Investigators. Private security. Everyone searching for answers. I found Min-Jae alone on a balcony overlooking the city. For the first time since I met him, he looked lost. Not overwhelmed. Lost. The difference mattered. Because overwhelmed people still know where they're standing. Lost people don't. I walked over quietly. He didn't turn around. "You're thinking about him." A faint laugh escaped him. "Which one?" That answer hurt. Because now there were apparently 2 fathers. The one who raised him. And the one who might have abandoned him. We were both silent for a bit. Then he finally spoke. "When we were kids, Hyun-woo used to tell me I'd never survive without him." I smiled faintly. That's a strange compliment. He wasn't complimenting me. The smile disappeared. He was serious. That caught my attention. Min-Jae looked out toward the city lights. He got into fights for me. A pause. He took blame for things I did. Another pause. He protected me. His voice lowered slightly. And I spent the last 3 years believing he hated me. The silence after that felt painful. Because maybe Hyunwoo did hate him. But hatred wasn't the whole story. Not anymore. Then Min-Jae's phone rang. Unknown number. We both stared at it. Something immediately felt wrong. Very wrong. The phone rang again. And again. Finally he answered. Hello. Silence. Then I watched the color leave his face. Instantly. My stomach dropped. Because there was only one person capable of causing that reaction. Hyunwoo. Min-Jae didn't speak. He just listened. For nearly 30 seconds. Then finally. Where are you? A pause. Then. No. Stay there. Another pause. Longer this time. Then Min-Jae closed his eyes. Hard. Like whatever he was hearing physically hurt. What happened? Who has it? That sentence changed everything. Because I knew immediately. The journal. The missing journal. Hyunwoo had found it. The call ended less than a minute later. Min-Jae lowered the phone slowly. I stood. What happened? He looked directly at me. And for the first time, I saw fear. Real fear. Not for himself. For someone else. Hyunwoo found the journal. My heart started racing. Where is he? In a hospital. The world seemed to stop. What? He was attacked. Cold spread through my chest. Attacked. Not threatened. Not followed. Attacked. Which meant someone else knew about the journal too. Someone dangerous enough to use violence. What does the journal say? Min-Jae didn't answer immediately. Instead he looked toward the estate behind us. Toward the windows. Toward the people inside. Then back at me. And suddenly I knew. The answer was bad. Very bad. Finally he spoke. The journal names the person responsible for my father's death. Everything inside me froze. Because now this wasn't a family secret. Or a missing person case. Or a corporate war. It was murder. And someone had spent 30 years hiding it. We left immediately. The drive to the hospital felt twice as long as the first one. Neither of us spoke. Because there was only one question left. Who killed Kang Min-Jae's father? Unfortunately, we got the answer before we reached the hospital. The detective called. Min-Jae answered immediately. Tell me. Silence. Then I watched something impossible happen. Shock. Actual shock. On Kang Min-Jae's face. The detective spoke for nearly a minute. When the call ended, Min-Jae pulled the car to the side of the road. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. Finally I whispered. Who is it? A long silence followed. Then Min-Jae looked at me. And said the last name I expected to hear. Han. I frowned. Han. His jaw tightened. The woman who brought us the journals. My stomach dropped. Han Soo-min. The woman who claimed she was helping. The woman who led them to the truth. The woman who knew where Hyunwoo was. The woman who appeared at exactly the right time. Suddenly every piece clicked into place. Not because she was helping solve the mystery. Because she'd been inside it the entire time. And if the detective was right, Han Soo-min wasn't a witness. She was connected to the murder. The drive to the hospital became something else entirely. Not urgency. Suspicion. Because suddenly every conversation we'd had with Han Soo-min felt different. Every answer. Every coincidence. Every appearance. Too convenient. Far too convenient. Who is she? I asked. Min-Jae kept his eyes on the road. I don't know. That answer wasn't reassuring. Because if Kang Min-Jae didn't know who she was, why had she known so much about his family? We were both silent for a bit. Then his phone rang again. The detective. Min-Jae answered immediately. Talk. A pause. Then. We found her connection. Min-Jae's grip tightened on the steering wheel. What connection? The detective exhaled slowly. He wasn't your biological father. We know that. Another pause. Then. But he was hers. Silence. My heart stopped. What? The detective continued. Han Soo-min is the biological daughter of Kang Sung-ho. The world tilted. Kang Sung-ho. Min-Jae's father. Or at least the man who raised him. The man whose death was now under investigation. The man whose journal started all of this. I looked at Min-Jae. Even he seemed stunned. That's impossible. So did we, the detective replied. But the records match. Everything suddenly became more complicated. Not less. Because now Han Soo-min wasn't some outsider. She was family. Hidden family. Secret family. Which meant she had a reason to care. A reason to search. A reason to lie. The call ended shortly afterward. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Because neither of us understood what we were walking into anymore. When we finally reached the hospital, security was everywhere. Police too. Something had happened. Something bad. The second we entered the building, a detective rushed toward us. "You're late." My stomach dropped. Nobody says that when things are okay. What happened? Min-Jae demanded. The detective looked furious. And worried. A terrible combination. Hyun-woo is gone. Silence. Complete silence. What do you mean gone? He disappeared 30 minutes ago. My chest tightened. He was attacked. Yes. He was hospitalized. Yes. And now he's missing? The detective nodded. Nobody liked that answer. Nobody. Because hospitals aren't places people accidentally disappear from. Someone helped him leave. Or someone took him. Neither possibility felt good. Then the detective handed Min-Jae a folded piece of paper. "We found this on his bed." Min-Jae unfolded it slowly. "Read the message once. Then again. Then his entire expression changed. "What is it?" A long pause followed. Then he handed me the note. My hands felt cold as I read it. There were only 7 words written on the page. "Stop looking for the journal." Nothing else. No signature. No explanation. Just a warning. We were both silent for a bit. Then another voice spoke behind us. I told him they would come. Everyone turned. And suddenly, Hyun-woo wasn't the most surprising person in the room. Han Soo-min stood at the end of the hallway. Completely unharmed. Completely calm. Like she had expected this. The detective immediately moved toward her. "Where have you been?" She ignored him. Ignored everyone. Her eyes locked directly onto Min-Jae. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "The journal isn't the real secret." The hallway became completely silent. Because if the journal wasn't the secret, then what was? Min-Jae stepped forward. "What are you talking about?" For the first time since meeting her, Han Soo-min looked afraid. Not nervous like real fear. The kind people carry when they're about to reveal something they can't take back. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph, another old photograph. But this one was different. Because this time, everybody in the picture was alive. Kang Sung-ho, Madam Kang. A younger Hyun-woo. A younger Min-Jae. And standing beside them was Han Soo-min. Not as an adult, as a child. The hallway went completely still. Because suddenly one thing became painfully clear. Han Soo-min hadn't been hidden from the family. She had been part of it. And someone had spent decades making sure nobody remembered. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because the photograph made absolutely no sense. Han Soo-min stood in the middle of a family portrait taken nearly 25 years ago. Not hidden in the background. Not standing off to the side. She was right there. Smiling. Standing between Min-Jae and Hyun-woo. Like she belonged. Like she always had. My eyes moved from the photograph to Min-Jae. His face had gone completely pale. "You remember her?" It wasn't a question. Han Soo-min looked directly at him. And for the first time, he couldn't answer. The silence lasted several seconds. Then finally, "That's impossible." His voice sounded distant. Like he was speaking through a memory. Han Soo-min laughed once. A sad laugh. The kind that hurts. "That's what I thought too." The detective stepped forward. "What is going on?" Nobody answered him. Because suddenly the investigation wasn't leading forward anymore. It was leading backward. Into something buried. Something forgotten. Then Han Soo-min looked at Min-Jae. And asked a question that immediately changed everything. "What happened the summer you turned 12? His entire body froze. Not confusion. Recognition. Real recognition. My stomach dropped. Because that meant something. Something important. "We don't remember," Min-Jae said quietly. "We." Me and Hyun-woo. Han Soo-min nodded slowly. Exactly like she'd expected that answer. "Of course you don't." The detective frowned. "What does that mean?" Han Soo-min took a deep breath. Then finally said the thing nobody expected. "You were drugged." The hallway exploded. Questions. Voices. Shock. But I wasn't listening. Because I was watching Min-Jae. And suddenly, he looked terrified. Not skeptical. Not doubtful. terrified, as if a door in his mind had just opened slightly, and he didn't like what was behind it. You don't know what you're talking about. But even he didn't sound convinced. Han Soo-min pulled another document from her bag. An old medical record. Yellowed. Damaged. Folded from years of being carried around. She handed it to the detective. The detective scanned it. Then looked up sharply. What is this? A hospital admission. The hallway went silent again. Han Soo-min swallowed hard. 3 children. A pause. Then, all admitted on the same day. My chest tightened. 3 children. Not 2. 3. Min-Jae, Hyun-woo, and Han Soo-min. The detective flipped through the pages. Then his expression changed. Immediately. What medication is this? Han Soo-min answered quietly. Experimental trauma suppression treatment. Nobody understood, including me. Then she looked directly at Min-Jae, and finally revealed the truth she'd been carrying. The 3 of us witnessed a murder. The world stopped. Not a family argument. Not an accident. A murder. And judging by her face, a murder committed right in front of them. The detective slowly lowered the file. What murder? Han Soo-min's eyes filled with tears for the first time. Not dramatic tears. The kind people spend decades holding back. Then she whispered, the murder of my mother. Silence. Pure silence. Because suddenly, the father's journals, the missing journal, the hidden identities, the erased memories, the fake inheritance war. None of it was the real story. The real story started 25 years ago, with a woman who was murdered, 3 children who saw it happen, and someone powerful enough to erase the memory from all of them. Then Min-Jae said something that chilled me completely. Not because of what he said, because of how he said it. Bruised. Exhausted. Alive. The entire room froze. For a second nobody moved. Then Min-Jae crossed the distance between them. Fast. Not as rivals. As brothers. He grabbed Hyun-woo by the shoulders. You idiot. Hyun-woo laughed painfully. Good to see you too. We were all silent for a bit. Then the detective stepped forward. Start talking. Hyun-woo nodded. Then handed over a flash drive. I found the journal. My heart jumped. The missing journal. Finally. The original was destroyed, Hyun-woo said. But I copied everything first. The detective immediately took it. What does it say? Hyun-woo looked toward Madame Kang, standing silently at the end of the corridor. Watching. Waiting. Then he said the words nobody expected. My father didn't hide the killer. A pause. He hid the witness. Silence. The detective frowned. What witness? Hyun-woo pointed directly at Madame Kang. The entire hallway turned. Not because she was the killer, because she suddenly looked terrified. For the first time. Ever. 25 years ago, Hyun-woo said quietly, Han Soo-min's mother wasn't murdered because of family drama. A pause. Then, she was murdered because she discovered corporate fraud worth billions. The hallway exploded. Everything shifted. Again. Because suddenly this wasn't just family. It was money. Power. Corruption. The language powerful people understood best. And who committed it? The detective demanded. Hyun-woo looked directly at Madame Kang. Then shook his head. Not her. That shocked everyone. Including me. Because she had been the obvious suspect. The easy suspect. Which meant we'd all been looking in the wrong direction. Hyun-woo exhaled slowly. Then revealed the final twist. It was Chairman Lee. The room went silent. Because Chairman Lee wasn't family. He wasn't dead. And he wasn't retired. He was currently one of the most powerful men in Korea. The same man sitting on the board of Kang Group. The same man who had spent decades pretending to be a family friend. The same man who attended every holiday gathering. Every funeral. Every board meeting. Every celebration. He'd been beside them the entire time. Watching. Waiting. Protected. My stomach dropped. Because suddenly the last 25 years made sense. The cover-up. The erased memories. The journal. The attacks. The missing evidence. Someone with that level of power could bury almost anything. Then Hyun-woo delivered the final blow. The journal says Chairman Lee wasn't acting alone. Then he looked at Madame Kang. And that's the part you've been hiding. For the first time in the entire story, Madame Kang broke. Not slightly, completely. Tears filled her eyes. Her shoulders sagged. And suddenly she looked less like a powerful matriarch. And more like someone who'd been carrying a terrible secret for 25 years. I didn't help him kill her, she whispered. The room remained silent. Then she continued. But I helped him cover it up. Everything stopped. Because that confession changed everything. And now the war wasn't between brothers anymore. It was between the truth and one of Korea's most powerful men. Nobody spoke after that. Because some confessions don't create noise. They create silence. The kind that changes everything. Madame Kang stood motionless. Tears in her eyes. 25 years of secrets finally catching up to her. The detective was the first to recover. You covered up a murder? Her eyes closed briefly. Yes. The answer landed like a bomb. No excuses. No denials. Just truth. Then she looked at Min-Jae. And somehow that hurt more. Because she wasn't looking at a CEO. Or an heir. She was looking at her son. I thought I was protecting you. Min-Jae's expression didn't change. By helping a murderer? The pain in her face was immediate. Real. We were all going to die. Silence. That got everyone's attention. The detective stepped forward. What do you mean? Madame Kang looked toward the floor. Then finally revealed the truth she'd spent decades hiding. Han Soo-min's mother discovered what Chairman Lee was doing. A pause. He wasn't stealing money. Another pause. He was laundering money through shell companies connected to organized crime. The hallway went completely silent. Because that was bigger. Much bigger. Corporate fraud was one thing. Organized crime was another. She threatened to expose him. Madame Kang continued. And then? The question came from Han Soo-min. Not the detective. Not Min-Jae. Her. The daughter. The woman who had lost the most. Madame Kang's eyes filled with tears again. Then he killed her. The words shattered something. Not dramatically. Permanently. Han Soo-min didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't move. She just stood there. Absorbing it. 25 years of unanswered questions finally receiving an answer. Then Hyun-woo spoke. Quietly. Dangerously. The journal names everyone involved. The detective immediately looked up. Everyone? Hyun-woo nodded. Politicians. A pause. Executives. Another pause. Judges. The room froze. Because now this wasn't a murder investigation. It was a network. A machine. One powerful enough to survive 25 years. Then Min-Jae asked the question nobody wanted answered. Where is Chairman Lee now? Nobody spoke. Then the detective's phone rang. The timing alone felt wrong. He answered immediately. Listened. And suddenly his face changed. My stomach dropped. Because I'd seen that expression before. Bad news. Very bad news. The call ended. Nobody moved. What happened? Min-Jae asked. The detective looked directly at him. Then at Hyun-woo. Then at Han Soo-min. Finally he spoke. Chairman Lee just boarded a private jet. Silence. Then. He's leaving the country. Everything exploded. People talking. Moving. Calling. Reacting. Because everybody understood the same thing. If he escaped, it was over. 25 years. Gone. The evidence. Gone. The truth. Gone. Then Min-Jae did something nobody expected. He grabbed the detective's car keys. The detective blinked. What are you doing? Min-Jae looked toward the exit. Calm. Focused. Certain. The same look he'd had every time he was about to do something reckless. Something impossible. Something that somehow worked anyway. Then he spoke. We're not letting him leave. My heart immediately dropped. Because I knew that look. And somehow, I had a feeling this story was about to get a lot more dangerous. A lot faster. For the first time in 25 years. The man responsible was running. And Min-Jae intended to catch him. The drive to the airport was chaos. Phone calls. Police units. Lawyers. Government contacts. Everybody moving at once. And somehow, Chairman Lee was still ahead. By the time we reached the private terminal, his jet was already preparing for departure. The runway lights glowed against the night sky. The engines were running. My stomach tightened. We were too late. The detective looked furious. Get the tower on the phone. Officers scattered immediately. But even I knew the problem. Chairman Lee wasn't just wealthy. He was connected. The kind of man who could make obstacles disappear. The kind of man who'd been escaping consequences for decades. Then Min-Jae started walking. Not toward the terminal. Toward the runway. Fast. Min-Jae. He didn't stop. Hyun-woo immediately followed. Of course he did. And somehow I wasn't surprised when I found myself running after both of them. Because apparently none of us made good decisions anymore. The jet had already started moving. Slowly. Preparing for takeoff. Then something unexpected happened. It stopped. Just stopped. Everyone froze. The detective frowned. Why isn't it moving? Nobody knew. Then the aircraft door opened. And a woman stepped out. Elegant. Composed. Familiar. My heart nearly stopped. Madame Kang. Silence fell instantly. Because she'd been behind us. At the estate. There was no way she should have been here. Yet somehow, she was. Min-Jae stared. What are you doing? Madame Kang looked toward the aircraft. Then back at her sons. And for the first time in the entire story, she looked relieved. Not powerful. Not intimidating. Relieved. I got here first. Nobody understood. Then she held up a small envelope. The final journal. The original. The actual original. The one everyone had been searching for. The detective stepped forward. You had it. She nodded. Since the day my husband died. The silence that followed was unbelievable. Because suddenly one question mattered more than any other. Why? Min-Jae looked at her. His voice quieter now. Why keep it? A long pause followed. Then she answered. Because your father asked me to. That stopped everyone. What? Madame Kang's eyes filled with tears. He knew he was dying. Another pause. He knew Chairman Lee would come for all of us. The wind moved softly across the runway. Nobody spoke. Then she revealed the final piece. Your father didn't hide the journal to protect himself. A pause. He hid it to protect you. The realization hit all at once. The memory suppression. The fake inheritance war. The secrets. The distance. The manipulation. The journals. Everything. Not to protect power. To protect children. Children who had witnessed something they should never have seen. Children a dangerous man wanted silenced. Then a slow clap echoed from the aircraft. Everyone turned. And suddenly, Chairman Lee appeared. The real villain. 70 years old. Perfect suit. Perfect posture. Perfect smile. Like none of this bothered him. Like 25 years of lies were nothing. He looked directly at Madame Kang. Then laughed. Actually laughed. You should have destroyed it. The runway became completely silent. Because now, for the first time, the monster finally had nowhere left to hide. And somehow, he didn't look afraid. Not even a little. Which meant he was still holding something. One final move. One final secret. And that was far more dangerous than any of us realized. Chairman Lee smiled. And that worried me more than anything else. Because innocent people panic when they're cornered. Guilty people negotiate. But truly dangerous people, they smile. The detectives moved forward immediately. Chairman Lee, you're under investigation for. He raised a hand. The detective stopped talking. Not because he had authority. Because somehow, everyone knew he wasn't finished. You really think this ends tonight? His voice remained calm. Almost amused. Like the last 25 years had been a board meeting he'd already won. Then he looked directly at Min-Jae. You still don't know the whole story. Silence. Min-Jae stepped forward. I know enough. No. Chairman Lee's smile faded. For the first time. You know what happened. He paused. Then. You don't know why. The wind swept across the runway. Cold. Sharp. Uncomfortable. Nobody moved. Because suddenly, that question mattered. Why? Why murder Han Soo-min's mother? Why erase memories? Why spend 25 years hiding everything? Chairman Lee looked toward Han Soo-min. And for the first time, something resembling regret crossed his face. Your mother wasn't supposed to die. The runway froze. Every person standing there felt it. Because that wasn't a denial. It was worse. Much worse. Han Soo-min's voice shook. What? Chairman Lee looked away briefly. Then back. She wasn't the target. Silence. Pure silence. Nobody breathed. Nobody blinked. Because suddenly, everything shifted. Again. Who was the target? The detective demanded. Chairman Lee didn't answer immediately. Instead he looked directly at Madame Kang. Then at Min-Jae. Then at Hyunwoo. Finally, he spoke. Your father. The world stopped. Not metaphorically. Actually stopped. Because nobody saw that coming. Not me. Not the detectives. Not even Madame Kang. You killed the wrong person? Hyunwoo asked. Chairman Lee laughed bitterly. The wrong person stepped in front of the right bullet. The words landed heavily. Because now the murder looked different. Not random. Not emotional. Calculated. Planned. A failed assassination. My stomach tightened. Because that meant Kang Sung-ho wasn't covering up a crime. He was surviving one. Then Chairman Lee delivered another shock. The company wasn't the reason. Silence. What do you mean? Min-Jae asked. Chairman Lee looked exhausted suddenly. Older. Smaller. Like carrying the truth for 25 years had finally become heavy. Your father discovered what I was doing. A pause. Then. And he was preparing to testify. The detectives exchanged looks. Because now everything made sense. The money laundering. The organized crime. The corruption network. The murder. All of it. Then Chairman Lee looked directly at Min-Jae. And said the one thing nobody expected. The witness your father was protecting wasn't you. My heart stopped. Because we'd all assumed that. The children. The memories. The suppression. The protection. It was always about them. Wasn't it? Apparently not. Min-Jae frowned. What witness? Chairman Lee's eyes shifted slowly toward Madam Kang. The runway became silent. Dead silent. Because suddenly everyone understood. The witness. The real witness. The one person who remembered everything. The one person who saw the murder happen. The one person Kang Sung-ho had spent 25 years protecting. His wife. Madam Kang. Tears immediately filled her eyes. Not because she was shocked. Because she wasn't. She already knew. The truth had finally caught up. I saw everything, she whispered. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then she looked at her sons. And the pain in her face was almost unbearable. I remembered every second. Because suddenly, the memory suppression wasn't designed to protect the children. It was designed to protect her. To give the children a chance at normal lives. While she carried the burden alone for 25 years. Then Chairman Lee looked at the detectives. For the first time, his confidence was gone. Because there was no escaping now. Not anymore. The journal. The witnesses. The confession. Everything had collapsed around him. Then he lowered his head. And quietly said the words everyone had waited decades to hear. I did it. I killed her. No more lies. No more hiding. No more running. Finally, after 25 years, the nightmare was over. Or at least that's what we thought. Because just as the detectives moved to arrest him, Hyun-woo looked toward the aircraft. And suddenly his expression changed. Then he shouted, "Get down." And everything exploded. Get down. Hyun-woo's voice ripped across the runway. Then everything exploded. The aircraft erupted in flames. A deafening blast tore through the night as fire shot into the sky. The shockwave hit us instantly. People were thrown backward. Glass shattered. Screams filled the air. For a second, I couldn't hear anything except ringing. Then strong arms wrapped around me, shielding me, protecting me. Min-Jae. Of course. Even now, the smoke was everywhere. Thick. Black. Blinding. Police rushed forward. Security teams shouted orders. The entire runway descended into chaos. I pushed myself up. Min-Jae. I'm fine. His voice came immediately. Thank God. A few feet away, Hyun-woo was already on his feet. Scanning. Looking. Searching. Not for himself. For Chairman Lee. My stomach dropped. Because suddenly, the man who had just confessed was gone. The handcuffs. Gone. The detectives. Distracted. The explosion had created exactly what he needed. A window. An escape. Then someone shouted. There. We all turned. Chairman Lee was running. Actually running. Toward the far side of the runway. Toward another vehicle waiting in the darkness. A backup plan. Of course he had a backup plan. Min-Jae started moving immediately. Hyun-woo right behind him. Neither brother hesitated. Neither looked back. For the first time in years. They were running in the same direction. Together. The vehicle's door opened. Chairman Lee was almost there. 20 feet. 10. 5. Then another figure stepped into his path. Han Soo-min. The entire runway froze. She stood directly between him and the car. Alone. Unarmed. Unmoving. Chairman Lee stopped. Not because he wanted to. Because for the first time, he looked ashamed. Real shame. The kind people spend decades avoiding. Han Soo-min's eyes never left his. Look at me. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. 25 years of pain spoke for her. Look at me. Slowly. He did. The silence that followed felt endless. Then she asked the question she'd waited her entire life to ask. Why my mother? The runway became completely still. No one moved. No one spoke. Chairman Lee looked older suddenly. Much older. Like the weight of everything had finally caught up to him. Then he answered. Not like a powerful man. Not like a criminal. Like a broken one. Because she wouldn't be afraid of me. The words hit hard. Because somehow, that felt true. Han Soo-min's mother had stood up to him. Exposed him. Refused to back down. And he had destroyed her for it. Tears filled Han Soo-min's eyes. But she didn't look away. Not once. You took everything from me. Chairman Lee lowered his head. Yes. No excuses. No lies. Just truth. Finally. Then police surrounded him. Weapons drawn. Escape routes gone. For the first time in 25 years, he had nowhere left to run. And this time, he didn't try. As detectives led him away in handcuffs, he looked toward Min-Jae and Hyun-woo one last time. Then toward Madam Kang. Then finally toward Han Soo-min. A man who had spent decades controlling everyone around him. Reduced to nothing. Just another prisoner. Just another criminal. And suddenly, it was over. Not the story but the nightmare. The nightmare that had controlled all of their lives for 25 years. For the first time, they were free. Freedom felt strange. Not because it was unfamiliar. Because none of them knew what to do with it. For 25 years, every decision had been shaped by a secret. Every relationship. Every argument. Every misunderstanding. And now, the secret was gone. The weeks that followed were messy. Not dramatic. Not dangerous. Just honest. The investigation expanded quickly. The journals exposed more people than anyone expected. Executives resigned. Politicians disappeared from public life. Several arrests followed. The headlines lasted for months. But eventually, the world moved on. It always does. The people inside the story didn't. Not immediately. Han Soo-min took the longest. Which made sense. She had lost the most. A mother. A childhood. An identity. But she wasn't alone anymore. For the first time in her life, she had answers. And strangely enough, she had family too. Not perfect family. Not normal family. But real family. Madam Kang surprised everyone most. Including me. One afternoon she requested a private meeting with Han Soo-min. No lawyers. No assistants. No audience. Just the two of them. Nobody knew exactly what was said. But when they emerged 3 hours later, both had been crying. And somehow, both looked lighter. Not healed. Healing. There was a difference. Then there were the brothers. Honestly, that took longer. Years of resentment don't disappear overnight. But one evening I walked into Min-Jae's office and found something I never expected. Hyun-woo sitting across from him. Not arguing. Not fighting. Playing chess. I stood in the doorway. Completely confused. Hyun-woo looked up first. Don't react. I'm reacting. Min-Jae sighed. She's reacting. I've earned the right. That actually made both brothers laugh. Together. The sound stopped me completely. Because it was probably the first time I'd ever heard it. No tension. No competition. No history hanging between them. Just two brothers. Finally. Later that night, after Hyun-woo left, I found Min-Jae standing alone on the balcony overlooking Seoul. The city lights stretched endlessly beneath us. Familiar now. Home. I stepped beside him quietly. You're thinking. I'm always thinking. Fair. We were both silent for a bit. Then he looked toward the skyline. You know what bothers me most? I waited. I spent years fighting him. A pause. Over something neither of us actually wanted. The company. The inheritance. The position. The entire war. Built on lies. I slipped my hand into his. And now? He looked at me. Really looked at me. Then something changed in his expression. The same look I'd seen only a handful of times before. The look that meant he'd made a decision. And suddenly, I had a feeling my life was about to change again. Not because of a conspiracy. Because of him. And the way he was looking at me. That was somehow much more terrifying. The way Min-Jae looked at me should have been my warning. Instead, I smiled. Which was apparently a mistake. Because the next morning, he disappeared. No calls. No messages. No explanation. Just gone. At first, I wasn't worried. Min-Jae traveled constantly. Meetings, investors, board obligations. Entire countries seemed to schedule themselves around him. But by evening, I was annoyed. By midnight, concerned. By the next morning, something was wrong. Very wrong. I was halfway through my second coffee when my phone rang. Hyunwoo. I answered immediately. Have you heard from him? No. That answer came too quickly. My stomach tightened. You haven't either? A pause. Then, no. We were both silent for a bit. Then Hyunwoo sighed. That's not normal. No, it wasn't. Because after everything we'd survived, Min-Jae didn't disappear. Not anymore. Then another call came through. Unknown number. I answered. And immediately froze. Good morning. The voice was familiar. Madam Kang. He left something for you. My heart skipped. What? A letter. A letter? Who leaves letters anymore? An hour later, I was sitting in Madam Kang's living room holding a sealed envelope. My name written across the front. In Min-Jae's handwriting. Suddenly I wasn't annoyed anymore. I was nervous. Dangerously nervous. Madam Kang looked entirely too calm. Open it. I did. Inside was a single page. Just one. Typical Min-Jae. Straight to the point. I unfolded it. Then started reading. By the second line, my heart was already racing. By the fifth, I couldn't breathe. By the end, I was staring at the paper in complete shock. What? Hyunwoo demanded. I looked up slowly, then handed him the letter. He read it. Once. Then laughed. Actually laughed. No. I frowned. What? He handed the paper back. That idiot. Madam Kang smiled for the first time. A real smile. The kind that made her look years younger. And suddenly, I understood. The letter wasn't goodbye. Not even close. It was instructions. A location. A date. A time. And one sentence. Only one. If you still choose me, come find me. My heart immediately betrayed me. Because I already knew. I was going. Of course I was going. The address led outside Seoul. Then outside the city entirely. Then into the mountains. The drive lasted nearly 3 hours. Long enough for my imagination to create 50 terrible possibilities. And reject all 50. Eventually the road ended. Trees surrounded everything. Quiet. Peaceful. Beautiful. Then I saw it. A small house overlooking a lake. Not a mansion. Not a penthouse. Not a corporate retreat. A home. And standing outside it was Min-Jae. Waiting, hands in his pockets. Looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. I stepped out of the car. Neither of us moved immediately. We were both silent for a bit. Then I held up the letter. You're dramatic. You're here. That answer was immediate. Certain. Hopeful. And somehow, that made me emotional. Because after everything, the investigation, the secrets, the murders, the betrayals, this man had finally done the one thing nobody expected. He stopped running companies. Stopped fixing crises. Stopped carrying everyone's problems. And chose something for himself. Then Min-Jae took a slow breath, walked toward me, and reached into his coat pocket. My heart stopped instantly, because there are only so many reasons a man looks that nervous. And suddenly, I knew exactly why he disappeared. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The lake stretched quietly behind him. The mountains reflected across the water. Everything felt still, like the world had finally stopped asking something from us. Then Min-Jae pulled a small box from his pocket. And immediately, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because after everything we'd survived, my emotions had apparently stopped functioning normally. Min-Jae looked mildly offended. That wasn't the reaction I imagined. I know. I covered my face briefly. I'm sorry. You should be. That only made me laugh harder. And suddenly, he was laughing too, which somehow made the moment even better. Because nothing about us had ever been perfect. We weren't the dramatic fairy tale everyone expected. We were stubborn, complicated, ridiculously persistent. And somehow, that worked. Eventually the laughter faded. The emotions didn't. Min-Jae looked at me quietly, then dropped to one knee. And for the first time all day, my heart completely stopped. We were both silent for a bit. Then he spoke. Not like a CEO. Not like an heir. Not like the man everyone else knew. Just Min-Jae. The man I'd fallen in love with. I spent most of my life trying to become someone. Someone successful. Someone worthy. His eyes never left mine. And then I met you. Tears immediately filled my eyes. Because I already knew where this was going. I rejected you. A faint smile appeared. You did. Twice. You did that too. We were both silent for a bit. Then he shook his head slightly. And somehow that became the best thing that ever happened to me. My chest tightened painfully. Because I felt the same way. About all of it. Even the hard parts. Especially the hard parts. Then Min-Jae opened the ring box. Simple. Elegant. Perfect. Just like him. I don't want a life built on fear. I don't want a life built on obligations. I want a life built with you. That was it. That was the moment. The one every version of this story had been moving toward from the beginning. Not the company. Not the inheritance. Not the mystery. This. Him. Us. Then he smiled. A real smile. Warm. Hopeful. Certain. And asked the question I'd already answered 100 times in my head. Will you marry me? I didn't make him wait. Not even for a second. Yes. The answer came instantly. And for the first time since I met Kang Min-Jae, he looked genuinely speechless. Which was honestly worth all the trauma. I laughed through tears as he slipped the ring onto my finger. Then he stood, pulled me into his arms, and kissed me. Just like someone finally coming home. Months later, the wedding was small. Exactly how we wanted it. No media. No headlines. No corporate spectacle. Just family. Real family. Han Soo-min stood beside me. Hyun-woo stood beside Min-Jae. Madam Kang cried through almost the entire ceremony despite repeatedly insisting she wouldn't. And when it was over, something unexpected happened. Peace. Actual peace. The kind nobody in that family thought was possible. Years later, people still asked Min-Jae if he regretted stepping back from the life he'd spent decades building. The company was still successful. But it wasn't his entire identity anymore. One evening we sat together on the porch of that same lakeside home while our 2 children chased each other across the yard. The sun was setting. The world was quiet. And for once, nobody needed saving. You know, I said, watching the kids run past us. Rejecting you turned out to be a terrible decision. Min-Jae smiled without looking away from them. Life-changing mistake. We were both silent for a bit. Then he finally looked at me. The same way he had all those years ago. Like he'd noticed something everyone else missed. Like he still couldn't quite believe I was real. And after everything, I felt exactly the same. Then he took my hand, looked toward the family we'd built, and smiled. No. It was the best decision either of us ever made. And for the first time in a very long time, there was no mystery left to solve. No fight left to win. No past left to outrun. Just a future. Ours. And that was more than enough.